So, hello and welcome back to the Unforced Error. We are finished the quarterfinals, and it is now officially, a couple hours away from semi final time. It is about 20 to midnight here in Ireland, which makes it an hour or two away in the morning from the women's semi final action. So we'll just do the usual, go through the quarterfinals, the ins and outs, and we'll have a brief look ahead to the semi-final. So first up, Magdalena Linette from Poland beat Karolina Pliskova. Linette has, usually in Grand Slams, there's one person who kind of comes out of nowhere that no one's expecting, that makes a really deep run into the tournament, and it's definitely Magdalena Linette on the women's side. Of all the names in the semi-finals, she was probably the least likely to be there. And now you would have expected a Polish athlete to be there, but you wouldn't have expected it to be Magdalena Linette, and she beat Pliskova very, very well. She's got a great serve, she's got great defense as well, and talks a lot about composure, and she's been knocking on the door. She's kind of a bit in the latter stages of her career, but she's put in work through the years and has kind of put it together. But she's kind of been mid-tournaments for a while, and played a lot of big players, and has a lot of experience on tour as well. So it's great to see someone like that who's put in a lot of work in the shadows or whatever for years, and it's finally coming through to the semi-finals. In the next quarterfinal then, Aryna Sabalenka beat Vekic, and she beat her in some form, and this is Sabalenka's possibly fourth Grand Slam semi-final, but this time it does feel different, and she says it herself. I don't think she's dropped a set. Her serve is amazing. The odd few double faults, but part of the reason why this time feels different, because of the trouble she's had last year, you can't expect her to not make any double faults like everyone does, and she's still going to hit that many unforced errors or whatever, but it's your reaction to it. They're not going to be eradicated totally, but it's the reaction to try and forget it and come out fighting in the next point, which is very different. And so when Sabalenka plays Linette, the key word now is composure. In this, both have kept their composure and both have noted it in their press conferences. So at some point, one of them is going to be under pressure by default. So it's going to be interesting to see who that is. And Sabalenka in her press conference talked about, this self-belief that she has this time. How she's made semi-finals before, but she feels like a different player than she was before, even though she's at the same stage. So that's a great semi-final there, and it should be very exciting. They both play a very attractive brand of tennis as well, so definitely one to watch out for. And the other semi-final isn't too bad either. Rybakina beat Ostapenko. Again, her serve is amazing. It's very hard to go at her serve. Ostapenko didn't play too poorly, but Rybakina won kind of the key points or whatever, and is looking very, very strong and has a kind of robotic focus looking forward now. And she will play Victoria Azarenka, who bet Jessica Pegula, and this was a bit of a surprise. I think Jessica Pegula became the favourite once Iga Swiatek got knocked out, simply because she bet her a few weeks ago in a warm-up tournament. And Azarenka, as I said before, is playing like the woman who won 10 years ago. She's playing the tennis for life at the age of 33, and is walking around with a confidence, self-belief, and all aspects of her game are very, very solid. And Pegula will be very disappointed. She said in her press conference it was a mixture of her not playing quite her best and Azarenka playing very, very well. And that sounds like a very simple statement, but it's statements like that and an honesty like that, I think we'll see Pegula for a long time to come. She's just, it's a great temperament, a great honesty with herself. And she's played a lot of doubles in this tournament, so her legs probably are a bit tired, but she has this self-reflection and a kind of matter-of-factness about her analysis that I think serves her well, that matches her temperament as well. So we're back in Rybakina against Azarenka. I think Azarenka has to target Rybakina's serve. She's got to try and break her. Rybakina's serve is almost unbreakable, but she's got to try and infiltrate the serve somehow and try and get involved in the longer rallies. Azarenka's defense is very good, so she has to get engaged in those longer rallies to have a chance. So two very exciting finals. We could have a all Belarusian final as well, which would be something very, very different. So I don't think that's ever happened before. So those should be two great games to watch. So if you're up later tonight, they'll be tough on TV to help you. Well, you won't fall back to sleep watching them, but if you're wide awake, it's certainly worth flicking on. If we move to the men then, Khachanov beat Korda. He bet them in 3 sets, but Korda unfortunately had to retire with injury, and he'd be very disappointed at that, but had a great tournament as the Americans did as a whole. Khachanov was 2 sets up anyway, but Korda said he was struggling to hold the racket and has suffered a bit with it in Adelaide, the tournament beforehand as well, but not quite the sharp pain that he felt this time. So disappointing for him. He was on a great run, but was very upbeat and positive in the press conference, and is off to get a check now, but hopefully is nothing serious. So well done to him, and Khachanov rose through, and he'll be tough to beat too. He's a great warrior and a very strong server too. Stefanos Tsitsipas beat Lehechka in straight sets. Tsitsipas has said in his press conference that he's never felt as good as he does now about his tennis, and Tsitsipas is still in his mid-20s. We've talked about him coming on the rink a couple of years ago, but he's been a divisive figure in some ways, but you could never accuse him of saying something that he didn't believe, and I think he's going to be one to watch. Now, Djokovic, who we'll talk about in a minute, is looking very strong, but if Tsitsipas can make it to the final, now that's no easy task, and he'll have his work cut out for him against Khachanov, but I think that will be a longer game. But Tsitsipas, his serve as well, his touch is great. He's mixing it up a lot more, and he seems very, very fit. So really interesting to see what he can do. But there's a difference about him. There's a maturity about him, and we're wondering this time, can he go all the way? Tommy Paul beat Ben Shelton in an All-American affair, and it was a great game. It was in 4 sets in the end, a really entertaining game. And Ben Shelton, as we said, who was 20 years old, first time outside the States, had a great tournament, played very well. It wasn't for lack of performance that he was beaten, just Tommy Paul just had his number, just that bit of extra energy when it really mattered. But as we said, a great tournament for the Americans. Tommy Paul goes on to the semi-finals, and Ben Shelton we'll hear a lot of in the future years to come. And it's great for the sport to have Americans at the top, as I think it always is. It's good for business, it's good for the brand, and it's good for the American audience to be involved as well. And then finally, Novak Djokovic beat Andy Rublev in just over 2 hours. I'd say Rublev was wrecked after his last game, and probably would have liked to give him a bit more of a game. Probably wasn't expecting to beat Novak, but probably would have expected to give him a bit more of a game. And Novak is looking very, very strong. He's like all the great champions, they grow into the tournament, don't play their best at the start and try and peak. They try and peak for the majors in the year, and within the majors they try and peak for the second week, and that's certainly what he was doing. And he faced Tommy Paul now, who'll have his work cut out, but Tommy Paul won't be intimidated by him, and depending on how the crowd goes, it's certainly not a guarantee. Same with Tsitsipas catching off. You'd favour Tsitsipas slightly, but you never know. You never know. So yeah, that's the semi-finals. We'll let you go now. We'll keep it short because there's lots of tennis to watch. So we'll check in after the semi-finals and preview the finals. And as always, thanks a million. And we'll chat to you soon.